I have aphantasia. And if you don't know what that is, you can pause the video and go do some quick research, or you can pause the video and take the test that is the background image for this video. But yeah, I have aphantasia, and it's all I've ever remembered. I don't ever remember having the ability to visualize. And I share tons of reading stories of other people who have aphantasia is just very validating for my experience, I guess. And oh, hey, yep, that's exactly what I've experienced my whole life. So I don't generally do videos like this about myself, but it's an interesting topic that it's kind of it won't go away. I don't know why it keeps coming up in my life, and it just won't go away. So maybe I need to talk about it. So first I'll say I don't feel like it's any disadvantage. It's just a different way that our minds work. It's not like I can't imagine. It's just all non-visual for me. Even my dreams are non-visual. So I guess I can just quickly explain my aphantasia, because it's definitely a spectrum. And a lot of people are at the complete opposite side of the spectrum. They're hyperphantasia. But me, when I close my eyes, I see black. Sometimes I'll see geometric patterns. It's like wire frame structures, most often in red, maybe because blood is red, flesh is red, I don't know. But that's about the extent of my visual abilities. If I really want to force myself to envision, like the background image, if I really wanted to force myself, I could give myself a headache to get like a really fuzzy, almost kind of outline that lasts for a split second, but it's not worth the effort. My mind just doesn't work like that. And I'm very non-visual in my mind. And yeah, like I said, my dreams are even non-visual. I just recently told my wife about this. She had no idea. It's because it's not the kind of thing that's going to be apparent. I mean, theory of mind is such a complicated thing. The fact that my mind and my mental imaging works differently than other people, it's not like as obvious as if, say, I was missing an arm or something. I would say the most obvious way that it comes up is through memory. I just have a really, really terrible memory when it comes to certain things that normal people are readily able to recall. I can totally forget giant events until people remind me of it. And then I go, oh yeah, I remember that thing. And then I can just move on with my life. And I'll just give you one example. Something that I just connected with reading other people's aphantasia stories. People like, I never understood why I hated reading, because all the descriptive details just did nothing for me. And yeah, I can connect with that so much. If a book tells me a character looks a certain way, I don't have a mental image associated with that, and so it just doesn't really do anything for me. It's just like a data tag connected to the person blonde. Okay. It just doesn't, it's not interesting to me. But that doesn't mean that I don't like reading anything. I just like reading things that are more about ideas, and that does more for me than reading descriptions of things. Why do I need to? That doesn't do anything for me. And I'll just give one other little anecdote. For a lot of aphantasia people, we always thought that that was like an expression. You know, when people say stuff like, when I close my eyes, I still see your face. I always thought that was like an expression. I thought that was an expression. Or, okay, let's do a relaxing exercise. Close your eyes and imagine that. I do not have a visual imagination of those places. Sure, I can try to imagine being on a beach, and I know what sand between the toes feels like, and et cetera, but I don't actually get a mental visual image of being at the beach. Okay, so why am I doing this video? I don't know. Because I have a channel and I can talk about stuff, and it's just a topic that has been coming up a lot recently, and why isn't this something that's been studied a lot? So I have something to say about this. In the late 1800s, somebody described this, and then it got dropped. Nobody talked about it until the early 2000s. And still, it wasn't like something that everybody talked about in the early 2000s. It seems like really recently people have been, oh, I have aphantasia, and it's crazy because a lot of people get shocked. They can't even comprehend that people don't have mental imagery. That's like my wife has, she's been coming up to me, oh, that makes sense why, like, when we go to this place, you're not, like, envisioning what it could be like. And I'm like, yeah, because that's not how it works for me. So yeah, it just seems interesting that something like this, which is the theory of mind and just the theory of how different humans and interact or view the world. You know, the whole idea, what's my red? Your red. Is your red the same as my red? All of these questions are so interesting, and it seems like a topic that people would want to dive into. But to me, it seems strange that people haven't been studying it. Why is it something that somebody brought up in the late 1800s and it got dropped until the 2000s? And even then, it wasn't like a main topic of discussion, and it only seems like now, recently, people have been talking more about it. And because what that reminds me of, a while ago, I was doing research on human anatomy research and really old textbooks on human anatomy and physiology. And I was finding that there were so many instances of them doing proportion measurements. This anatomy textbook that I found was going over all the different measurements and the proportions. And it clicked for me why they don't do that anymore, and maybe why they were doing it then. Why were these people so concerned with the different proportions of these people? And nowadays they tell people, oh, all shapes and sizes. So it's just that's what this reminds me of. Why is aphantasia or hyperphantasia? Just the fact that this is a spectrum. That seems like something that would want to be studied. Why weren't people talking about it for 200 years or 100 years? Sorry, bad math. 140 years. And I'll just mention another reason why maybe doing this video is worthwhile. Finding others like this. Are there going to be multiple people? Are there going to be a lot of people in situations similar to mine that also have aphantasia? Or maybe a lot of you guys have hyperphantasia. I don't know. However, I will say, doing a little bit of research into this, it seems like a lot of people who get aphantasia later in life, it can be triggered by either a major surgery or a very traumatic event. So part of me, yeah, my entire childhood basically is a blank. And was this something that was caused to me? And I know that my oldest child has a very vivid mental imagery, and I don't ever remember having that, but I don't remember not having that because I just draw a giant blank. Was this caused to me? Was I exposed to something so traumatic? And because that's the thing, is that it even makes sense why some people might become or might be caused to be aphantasia, to have aphantasia by being exposed to something. It's like almost a defense mechanism to cut off that mental imagery because what they were being exposed to is just too hurtful. And so it kind of makes sense as a defense mechanism. But I'll say not looking for a pity party. This is all I've ever known, and I think it's obviously a big part of who I am at this point and how my mind, that it is a big part because we do think differently. And would I like to get my mental imagery back? Sure, I'm open to it. So you can pray that whatever blocked my Fantasia can be removed. I don't know if it's reversible. It really doesn't bother me to have aphantasia. Other ways are compensated. I can still be very cerebral and up in my mind. It's just not visual, and that's the difference. So leave comments, questions. What do you guys think about this topic? And yeah, you can pray for me, and I'll let you know if I start to get a more vivid mental imagery. It's a little scary. See, that's a little daunting to me because I kind of like not having mental imagery. It feels a little safer. What if I start getting really vivid, scary dreams? And that's not that my dreams can't be scary, it's just not visual. It's just I know stuff is happening. I know scary stuff is happening. But that is one interesting thing about dreams. I am a very lucid dreamer, and that obviously that's one of the reasons. Like, I can tell that it's not visual, and I know that my real life is visual because I can open my eyes. So I will say that's one thing. I do typically know when I am dreaming because it's very non-visual. Well, that's it for this. I hope this is an interesting topic, and I'm really interested in comments or questions if this spurs any discussion. Have you guys been hearing about this topic more recently? And that's it. God bless everyone.